नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः हृदयान्तस्थो हि अभद्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सताम्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। So today we are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 9. Dhruva Maharaj returns to home, verses 3 and 4. Verse 3. Taddarshanenagata swade sadvasakshitav avanda avandatangam vinamaya dandavat drugbhayam prapasyam prapibhan ivarbakas chumban ivasena bujair ivaslisan. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. When Dromara saw his lord just in front of him, he was greatly agitated and offered him obeisance and respect. He fell flat before him like a rod and became absorbed in the love of Godhead. Dhromaraja in ecstasy looked upon the Lord as if he were drinking the Lord with his eyes, kissing the lotus feet of the Lord with his mouth and embracing the Lord with his arms. Purport. Naturally, when Dhromaraja personally saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face, he was very much agitated in awe and respect, and it appeared as if he were drinking the entire body of the Lord with his eyes. The devotee's love for Supreme Personality of Godhead is so intense that he wants to kiss the lotus feet of the Lord constantly, and he wants to touch the tips of the toes of the Lord and constantly embrace his lotus feet. All these features of Dhruva Maharaj's bodily expression indicate that upon seeing the Lord face to face, he developed the 8 kinds of transcendental ecstasy in his body. Verse 4. Satam vivakshantam atadvidam harir ज्ञात्वस्य सर्वस्य चारुद अवस्थिता कृताञ्जलिं ब्रह्ममयेन कम्भुना अस्पर्श balam krupaya kapole. Translation. Although Dhruva Maharaj was a small boy, he wanted to offer prayer to Supreme Personality of Godhead in suitable language. Because um, he was inexperienced, he could not adjust himself immediately. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, being situated in everyone's heart, could understand Dhruva Maharaj's awkward position. Out of his causeless mercy, he touched his conch shell to the forehead of Dhruva Maharaj, who stood before him with folded hands. Purport. Every devotee wants to chant the transcendental qualities of the Lord. Devotees are always interested in hearing about the Lord's transcendental qualities, and they are always eager to glorify these qualities. But sometimes they feel inconvenienced by humbleness. The personality of Godhead, being situated in everyone's heart, specifically gives a devotee intelligence to describe him. It is therefore understood that when a devotee writes or speaks about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his words are dictated by the Lord from within. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, 10th chapter. To those who constantly engage in transcendental loving service of the Lord, from within dictates what to do next in order to serve him. When Dhruva Maharajas felt hesitant, not knowing how to describe the Lord for want of sufficient experience, the Lord, out of his causeless mercy, touched his counsel to Dhruva's forehead, and he was transcendentally inspired. This transcendental inspiration is called Brahmamaya, because when one is thus inspired, the sound he produces exactly corresponds to the sound vibration of the Vedas. This is not the ordinary sound vibration of this material world. Therefore, the sound vibration of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, although presented in the ordinary alphabet, should not be taken as mundane or material. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णभक्ताय भूतले श्रीमद् सुंदर गोस्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. I like to seek blessings from the assembled devotees here. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to purify myself. Please forgive me for any shortcomings. So actually, I'm covering Patri Vikram Prabhu last minute. So we are in the new chapter this week, chapter titled Dhruva Maharaj's Return Home. So as Kanai Priya Prabhu explained beautifully yesterday. So the first few verses, when Dhruva Maharaj did severe austerities, and he fully absorbed in the in the his mind in on Krishna. Lord appears and empowers the Dhruva Maharaj to speak. So the first two verses, Lord goes to Dhruva, as assured by the Lord, the demigods were relieved and of a fear and returned. Then the Lord got back on his Garuda, went to Madhuvan to see his servant Dhruva Maharaj. And also in the verses too, it says that Dhruva Maharaj sees the Lord. Suddenly when Dhruva Maharaj is fully absorbed in meditation, suddenly Lord disappears from his art, and he appears in front of his eyes, and that is the same form situated externally. So coming to the verse 3 talks about how ecstasy of Dhruva Maharaj. When upon seeing the Lord, Dhruva Maharaj was he was greatly agitated, and he offered the Dandavat. So as we know, it's our Vaishnava practice to do the Dandavat Pranam to deities and to the Guru, and also other Vaishnavas. And I think this is where the Dandavata is also referenced. Dandavata is like as a Ashtanga Pranam, involving bowing down completely, touching the ground with the 8 parts of the body, forehead, chest, both hands, both knees, both feet. And it signifies that, complete surrendering and reverence towards the God or Guru or any other revered figure. Here, Dhruva Maharaj fell flat before Supreme Personality of Godhead like a rod, and he is fully absorbed in the love of Godhead. And also this, talking about Dandavat pranams, also signifies the forms of pranam, lies in demonstrating the humility, also a devotion and respect towards the divine and revered personalities. So and one may ask, like, why do we don't offer pranam directly, but bend down instead? The answer lies that, in the presence of divine or revered figures, where devotees are granted darshan of the revered deity, since they remain standing to facilitate the darshan of all devotees. So, coming back to the verse 3, when Dhruva Maharaj was, experiencing the transcendental ecstasy, when looking upon the Lord, and here it gives a three types of ecstasies. Three, Dhruva Maharaj just felt, his drink his sweetness with his eyes, and kissing the lotus feet of the Lord with his mouth, and embracing the Lord with his arms. So, and Purport Prabhupada has mentioned that, all these features of Dhruva Maharaj's bodily expression, indicating that, when Dhruva Maharaj sees the Lord face to face, he has developed, all 8 kinds of transcendental ecstasy in his body. So in the Nectar of Devotion, I think chapter 4, verse 28, or I think this chapter uh, describes fully about the what are the 8 symptoms of ecstatic love, and so those are: one is becoming stunned, perspiring, standing of hairs on the body, faltering of the voice, trembling of the body, changing of bodily colors, shedding of tears, and devastation. So, when a devotee is intensely affected by love for Krishna, in direct relationship with him, even a little apart from him, his status called existential ecstatic love. So the symptoms originating from some that such existential ecstatic love are divided into 3 headings. One is namely moist, second is burnt, and third is dried up. So this most existential ecstatic love aroused in connection with the Krishna is also divided into two. One is direct and indirect. Radharani was waving a garland of kunda flowers, and upon hearing the vibration of Krishna's flute, so she immediately stopped her work, and this is an example of direct, moist, and existential ecstatic love. Indirect, moist, and existential ecstatic love is described in the following statement, where Krishna, who is also called Purushottama, is to the eyes of Mother Yashoda, just like the cloud is to the eyes of Chataki bird. When Krishna had been brought to Madura, Mother Yashoda, being very anxious and angry, began to rebuke the king of Madura. Burnt existential ecstatic love is divided again into three. One example is follows, like one day Mother Yashoda was dreaming that the gigantic demon Putana was lying on the courtyard of her house, and she immediately became anxious to seek out Krishna. When there are manifestations of ecstatic symptoms in the body of a non-devotee, these are all called dried up symptoms of ecstatic love. The non devotees are actually materialistic, but in contact with some pure devotees, they sometimes may manifest some symptoms of ecstasy. So, devotional scholars call these dried up symptoms. There are, these 8 existential transcendental symptoms, also called, Ashta Sattvika Vikara, which means 8 kinds of transcendental transformation. And the scientific explanation of these symptoms were given by Srila Rupa Goswami as follows. So, when the vital force of the life is in contact with the earth, one is stunned. When the same force comes into contact with the water, there is a shedding of tears. When the same force comes in contact with the fire, there is a perspiration. Again, when the vital force come in contact with the life, okay, when vital force of life is contact with the earth, it is, one gets stunned. Same force comes in contact with the water, there is a shedding of tears, and same force comes in contact with the fire, there is a perspiration. So, and also when this force comes into contact with the sky, there is completely devastation. So, and when this force comes into contact with the air, there is trembling, falling of voice, and standing of the hairs on the body. So these symptoms sometimes manifested internally and externally, and pure devotee always feels such symptomatic expressions within himself. But being afraid of outsider, he does not generally manifest them externally. So we have seen, we are reading the Haridas Thakura and book of Namacharya Haridas Thakura. We also see the ecstatic symptoms of the devotees, you know, Advaita Acharya, Haridas Thakura, and especially when Mahaprabhu appeared in this golden avatar in the in his pastimes in Jagannath Puri. There were a lot of summary, and a lot of times, Mahaprabhu has experienced this transcendental ecstatic love of the Lord. So here, as though in the summary, in the third verse talks about ecstasy of Dhruva Maharaj, and is fully absorbed in Krishna, and Krishna has appeared in front of him. He is in a spiritual platform. He's not in one material platform. So he fell flat before Supreme Lord as a just like a rod, and he's fully absorbed in the Godhead, and here is experiencing and showing the his ecstatic transcendental symptoms. So the three things he was it was told here was after looking upon the Lord, he was drinking the Lord with his eyes, kissing the lotus feet of the Lord with his mouth, and embracing Lord with his arm. And here in the coming to the verse 4, um, you know, uh, when Dhruva Maharaj wanted to offer the prayers to the Lord, but when Person of the Godhead really appeared in front of him, because he's inexperienced, he could not adjust himself. But Lord, being situated in his in everyone's heart, could understand Dhruva Maharaj's situation, and out of his causeless mercy, touched the counsel to forehead of Dhruva Maharaj, and so here. It's no Lord Krishna is always in everyone's heart as a Paramatma. But when we are in devotion, when we are fully aligned, we can Krishna guides us in the life, and tells us, we automatically know what to talk, what to do. But because of our impurities and touch with Maya and being attached to the material life, a lot of times we don't see what's happening in the life. We are after money, we are after the job, we are after different parts of material aspect. So we cannot even hear ourselves from within our heart where Krishna is situated, and like to guide us, and we just need to follow our heart. But just ignoring that, we will be doing all the other things, which is also which is a illusion and serving the Maya. So by chanting with the by chanting Hare Krishna prayers and doing any aspect of devotional service, one can revive our position, and we can our heart get purified, and Krishna within us will guide us in our life, and obviously we can go back home to the God, sooner than later with our sincere prayers. And one last thing. I think with that I can conclude. Please forgive me for any shortcomings. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam